So in the interest of building in public and following the example of some of the incredible people that I have followed online that have inspired me, I forked our Capyble product and analysis bot and started to point it at the organizations that need to be compliant with certain legislation that have public policies. In this case, I forked our current analysis bot and pointed it at those who are working on the national code. So when it comes to the national code for higher education and preventing gender-based violence, I can see that only one of the 94 providers has already provided the response plan that the code provides. I can see that only 32 of 94 currently mention the code by name, which is also a requirement, and only 5 name it within a policy itself. I can see that, however, about 80 out of the 105 or 100 or so have done about 63% of the work already. And that is kind of inspiring because it means that we can point to the things that are missing and glue together existing systems. We can break down all of this data, and I find it really interesting looking at the challenges involved in this. There are already labyrinths that try and trap AI bots, which are looking at websites that give out fake documents and that point them in fake areas. And I really love that because it means that people are learning to protect themselves already. And it means that instead of trying to do that in an unethical way, I could just get a list from my bot of the websites that had protections for direct download of PDFs, go and download them manually myself, and then feed and analyze them in a way that made sense. I could also be really frank about the evidence I didn't have and that I did and put it into a ledger already. I could go through all of these providers and get a score on what is visible, but also get a clear list of what is not, which means what is not visible for people going to these organizations or people who might be searching within the systems to try and find support. It's incredibly powerful to see what you can do with data analysis, provided you were working with people to help you interpret them. And I find it really interesting to be in this era where, as a person myself who doesn't know how to code, I can create something that helps me to work on ending violence in a particular organization or a particular sector as a tool that I could make publicly available, but I think that would be a little unethical in this case, but I could provide to people already to see where they could improve. It's amazing and intimidating, I think I would say. Maybe the right words are, it's a lot. It's a lot of information, a lot of data, and the main thing that has taken up money and time in setting up this is in self-checks, in self-analysis to make sure that bots aren't hallucinating, that they are checking the right engine model and the right LLM kind of feed for different areas, and that they're not finding things like a different national code and saying, yep, there's a mention of the national code in that policy when they're talking about a completely separate national code for something else that's not the national code for gender-based violence. So this is a long way of me saying it's really fast, and what this looks like to me now is the barrier is not analysis, it is interpretation. It isn't having people who know what they're doing just nudge and guide with this sort of data, and then finding the right education, the right systems change, and co-designing with those affected and having people who can facilitate that. And that's why I'm really excited about both the team we have at Capyble, but also the providers that we work with and the amazing organizations that we partner with. It's so fast to work on this stuff now, and you don't get gateways from being a coder. You do get gateways from knowledge and knowing how these systems work, and our wonderful engineer Ben is very much educating me on when and how some of these things need to be rebuffed and reused, and when they're indicators and when they're evidence. I think it's really powerful now to be able to get a score for where you're at, get a pathway and a list of actions to improve that score, and then monitor and provide evidence for that over time, and get help from the people you need as you do them. I'm just excited that we can make action quickly on these areas. Instead of using AI to steal IP or steal knowledge, we can use it for rapid analysis, and that is what I think it's much better at, as well as what we could use it for instead of, stealing art.